In 1977, a late-night talk show aired its final show live on Halloween in this found footage-esque horror film from Cameron and Colin Kearns. Presented like a documentary, the opening scenes give us some background to the life of talk show host Jack Delroy, played by David Dastmalchian, and his rise from radio host to late-night entertainer, always struggling to compete with other late-night shows such as Johnny Carson's. We're told how personal tragedy impacted on his work and how his show evolved to chase the ratings leading up to the events of the Halloween special in 1977, when things took a terribly dark turn. The episode is then played through in full as we see interactions with psychics, skeptics, and an alleged possessed child at an occurrer play out, with a slowly building aura of unease and darkness. Delightfully dark, this is a film that plays on conventions of the possessed child trope that we've seen before, but the live on TV approach makes it feel somewhat fresh, especially when held together by such a strong central performance by Dastmalchian. The live TV approach also ensures that it's kept running to a tight pace, and the switching to new guests after each early break keeps things interesting. Ian Bliss's character Carmichael, a former magician turned skeptic, is a marvellous addition as he tries to make sense and disprove any of the more supernatural elements that are on display. As things get darker and darker, with the introduction of the possessed girl Lily, Carmichael's retorts provide some dark laughs to alleviate the tensions perfectly. However, there are some issues with the film. Now, I'm not going to talk about the use of AI to generate the transitional holding cards and graphic design of the film, as that's a debate for elsewhere. I'll only add that I am opposed to AI taking jobs away, and I'll leave it at that. What, however, does damage the film slightly is the moments when the broadcast cuts to commercial breaks. At these points, we get a behind-the-scenes view of the conversations taking place, constructed in a much more conventional filmmaking style. After all, nobody would be following everyone around with the camera just to capture these discussions. Now, whilst these elements seemed essential early on in the film to give background to explain the on-air aspects that are starting to build up, it does somewhat break the illusion that this is a documentary. And when in the closing scenes, we get a journey through the elements that are referenced that led to the dark turn that the broadcast took, it kind of makes a lot of these earlier interjections obsolete. Maybe had they just captured parts of the break conversations via standard camera rigs picking up scrambled elements and hints, it would have felt more natural to the approach that they were trying to make the film go in. As it stands, it just feels like it breaks the immersion somewhat. But thankfully, it doesn't damage things too much, and any issues are easily overlooked due to Dastmalchian's standout performance. This is an actor who's always shone in support roles throughout his work. Seeing him central to a film, allowing him to really demonstrate everything he can offer, is a treat. He plays charming, smarmy, troubled, and distressed, all at once with aplomb, ensuring that audiences can engage with him and care about the events transpiring. Overall, Late Night with the Devil is a fun, fresh play on old ideas, and certainly one of the best Shudder originals that we've had to date. It's well worth checking out, especially if you can get to see it on the big screen with a full audience. This American road trip comedy from Ethan Coen, which sees two lesbians take a trip to Tallahassee in a car which, unknown to them, holds a case carrying an unspecified cargo that's being sought by some undesirable characters, is a zany, fast-paced affair that has more than a touch of the more outlandish elements of the earlier Coen brothers films. Initially conceived 2 decades ago, the film's been in various stages of production at quite a few points before landing in the guise it inhabits today. Margaret Qualley plays Jamie, a free spirit whose infidelity leads her to being kicked out of home by her partner, Suki, played by Beanie Feldstein. She joins her timid friend, Marion, played by Geraldine Viswanathan, who's planning a trip to Tallahassee in Florida, and the pair take a drive-away car, basically a free ride delivering a vehicle to somewhere it's required. But the car was intended for a trio of criminals to deliver some cargo in, resulting in the pair being tracked down. Unaware of the danger they are in, the pair start to become closer on the trip as Jamie tries to get the uptight Marion to open up a bit. This film is erratic from the start, and the extremely tight 84 minutes doesn't allow for much in the way of development of side characters, with many being simple caricatures, the likes of which we've seen paraded in a variety of films over the years, especially those from the Coen stable. But that isn't an issue when the central duo works so well on screen together, sizzling with a chemistry that makes it easy to care for the pair, whilst finding amusement and indeed hilarity in their antics. Quelly is foul-mouthed and fiery, and the contrast to Viswanathan's reserved and proper character balances well, especially as we see both characters adopt traits of the other throughout the film. The throwaway support around them, as mentioned, are very basic in their design, but given some weight by the names representing them. Coleman Domingo strikes a cool menace as the chief, Pedro Pascal gets a brief turn in the opening moments of the film, and Matt Damon pops up as Senator Gary Channel, who appears to have some connection to the mysterious case. But it is Bernie Feldstein who lends the best support as jilted ex-Sookie, bringing some full-on energy to the part and delivering some of the funniest moments as a result. Drive-Away Dolls is getting very mixed responses from audiences, with some arguing that it feels like a cheap knockoff of similar films, especially ones from the Coens themselves, and that's absolutely fair. There are certainly times when you're sure you've seen this all done before. Even the argumentative bungling criminals is a trope the Coens have rolled out multiple times. But with frenetic pacing never letting up, this didn't bother me, as I found myself chuckling away as I was just taken along for the ride.